Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I've not been around for a while because my daughter's just bought her first house and I've been busy helping her doing some renovations to that. But I'm back now and I've got another review video here. Now I've had this product for about 2 months. They sent me this product on loan. I haven't bought it, but if I do want to buy it after the review then I can do, and I can keep it then. It's the Lunatico CloudWatcher. There's been a few reviews done on this just lately on YouTube. It is an excellent product. Now, what is it? It's a full weather station designed for astrophotographers. It comes as a base unit, but also a lot of extras that you can have as add-ons. There are certain things that you need to buy, and then the rest are add-ons, extra sensors, upgraded sensors and different things like that. So this is the base unit that you buy. You need to buy the base unit, you need a cable, and you really need a mounting bracket. We'll get to those in a minute. The base unit comes in a box like this, comes with the software, which we'll go through later on the computer. 2 connections on the back. One is for the main cable, one is for the wind sensor if you have the wind anemometer sensor. This is the base unit. You get the rain sensor built in, the basic rain sensor. There is a more upgraded rain sensor, but this has just got the basic rain sensor built in. It also has a light sensor to detect day and night, and it also has a IR camera for detecting sky temperature. This on the bottom is an extra sensor that I had. This is a relative humidity and pressure sensor. Now I had this as an extra. This is an extra, you don't have to have this, but I got this one when I requested this particular model. The mounting bracket comes 2 different types. You've got a wall mounted, which I've got here. You can also get a pole mounted bracket. They do the 2 types. I went for the wall mounted one. And then the cable, as I said before, those are the 3 items that you need. Now the cable comes in different lengths. You choose the length you want, 3 meters, 5 meters, 7 meters, but they probably would do other lengths if you required it. So the cable comes with the waterproof connector on one end for connecting to the main base unit. And then on the other end, it finishes with a serial cable, which you then need your own serial to USB. They do sell one of these if you want to buy it direct from Lunatico. I already had one, so I didn't need to. I did ask them why they still use serial ports, and apparently it's purely down for a much more stable signal over long distances. They say that USB can be a bit temperamental over longer distances, so this is why they still use a serial port, because many people do ask in this day and age, the computers not having serial ports, why they still use them. Well, that's the explanation they gave me. It comes with a power port, which I think will take from 12 to 15 volts. And then it's got 2 extra cables here, which is the interesting bit. Now, these 2 cables are for connecting to a relay for open and closing an observatory roof or a dome shutter or something similar. Which is the standout thing with this product. You can actually set different settings within the software, safety settings, for instance, for certain cloud. Obviously, if you're getting a certain amount of cloud over, you can tell it that you want it to close the roof. Obviously, if this senses water, it's potentially raining, this will send the signal to close the roof through a relay, which I think is excellent. This is designed, like I say, for astronomy, astrophotography. The extra sensors I had on the bottom is a relative humidity and pressure. Again, do you really need those? I like to have the relative humidity. I wasn't too concerned about the pressure. Obviously, the CloudWatcher part of it itself is through the IR camera sensing the temperature of the sky, and it works out the cloud levels from that amongst the other cameras. Now, it comes in this box. This is a plastic box, and it's coated with a special coating. It feels like a rubberized coating on the box, which it tells you not to damage, and also the sensor on the bottom is also coated with some sort of rubberized and UV coating as well. This all mounts on the mounting bracket. You must put the connectors on the downward slope. The idea is for the water to run off. As it runs across the sensor, obviously detects it. You don't want it level because the water will stay settled on the rain sensor, which would not be any good. And also you want the connectors facing down, so although they're waterproof, so there's no chance of any water ingress in there. And then, as I said, I requested the anemometer as well for the detecting wind speeds, and that fits on that part of the bracket like so, and then the whole thing is connected to the wall. The second connector on the back here is for this wind speed sensor, and the other one obviously is for the main cable. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put all this together, just show it all fits together. You do get the mounting kit with it, the bolts, bag of screws and bolts that you need for fitting the individual items that you order. Like I say, there are extras. You can upgrade it to a much more complex rain sensor if you require. You can also buy your own power supply for it. Like I say, you get different length cables. You can buy a USB to serial adapter from them. I just bought the basic kit really, but with the relative humidity and the wind detector. So I'm going to put all this together, and then we're going to move on to the computer. I'm going to talk through the software with you, because there's a lot in the software. It gives you a lot of information, a lot of graphs. It's constantly monitoring when it's outside, weather, and obviously all the different figures. So there's a lot to go through on that, and obviously there's settings in there that you can set for safe and unsafe settings, which tells it when to open, close the roof, and different things like that. So it's quite a complex bit of software. And there's also a widget to put in on your Windows desktop, which just gives you all the basic sensor readings. Now, so this is the unit, all fully assembled. And obviously then you just mount this to a flat surface that suits your needs. Quite neat. Cable obviously runs to then your local computer, and that's how it looks when it's all put together. Okay, so on the computer now, and the first thing you want to do is navigate to their website, which is lunatico.com, and when you're on that page, go to the cloud detection, click on that link, and then you'll find a list of the products here to do with the cloud detector. Click on the CloudWatcher, and then it'll give you some options: cable lengths, relative humidity, and atmospheric pressure sensor. As I said, that's the sensor, extra sensor that I chose. And then if you go down, it gives you a few screenshots, some details of the product. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, you've got software downloads. Go to the software downloads, and that takes you to this page. And then, although the links are a bit more awkward to see because they're not highlighted, but this is the CloudWatcher display. This is the widget that you can have on your Windows desktop. You've got the software installer, and then you've got the Askar driver. So I suggest you download all three of those and install all those. Straightforward. And then when you've done that, we can open the software. Okay, so I've installed the software and I've started it up, and this is the first window that you will see. Now when you click on start, the actual software will go through all your COM ports until it finds the COM port that it's connected to. But if you actually go to setup, you can actually put your COM port in here if you already know it. I suggest you go to device manager, find out which one it is, and you can put it in there. And then you can test port and then go back to the first page. Mine's obviously already set, so what I would do is I'll click start. And as you can see, it'll take a few minutes before all these will populate. What I will then do is I will collect on the record here. I will also start, because I've already created a folder to save it, I will click yes. So that now is going to start recording the data to the folder of my choosing, which I'll cover in a minute. So this is the first page. It gives you an overview of all your sensors and the conditions, and then obviously a bit more detail here. Sky temperature, rain, it's currently overcast, it's dry, wind speed is calm, there's actually no wind at all out there. The brightness is light, obviously it's daytime at the moment. Relative humidity, atmospheric pressure, the ambient temperature dew point, and the delta dew point. So that's the first tab of these across the top. The second one is just giving you graphs for each of those sensors. So you've got your cloud at the top. You won't necessarily have all these if you haven't got all the sensors. And then the rain, and then the wind. As you can see, it's extremely calm. The brightness, your temperature outside, the humidity, and the pressure. So that's just giving you graphs, showing you all the different sensors in graph form. The next tab is limits. Now these are all preset, but they are user changeable. You can change these if you want to. They've obviously been preset by the manufacturer. So they say if it's less than -5, then it's classed as being clear, so on and so forth. I would leave all these alone unless you know exactly what you're doing. The next tab is the unsafe conditions. Now this is what determines, as I talked about earlier, when your roof or your shutter on your dome is opened and closed. You can see here it says switch state closed. Well, that's currently saying if mine was connected to an automated roof, it would have the roof closed, and that's because at the moment it's overcast. Looking at this one, it's overcast, it's wet, and obviously it's light. If it meets any of those that you've set by highlighting them in red, then it will close the roof or close the shutter dome. You just click on these to use them. So you might only want it to shut when it's actually cloudy. So you can just have the overcast one checked. You don't need the cloudy one. You can set these, as you see fit for your setup. The next tab is the setup. Now I would leave everything alone in here because these are all factory set, and unless you know what you're doing, I wouldn't mess with them. Some of them are user changeable, but again, any of these settings you can actually only change while this is stopped. You can't do it while it's running. As you can see at the moment, they're greyed out. The only thing you want to change in here is your COM port. On the right hand side under this setup, you've got settings for your graphs. You can set sound alarms. You've got settings for your network, and also you can use external scripts. Now the network one, this is where you set the path for it to save the data. Now by default it saves it to your My Documents folder, which in my case wasn't ideal, so I created a folder on my desktop called Weather Data. And this is the folder, and it basically creates all its own files within this folder. Whenever you start and stop the device, it will just overwrite these same files, so you don't have to do anything. It doesn't create extra files every time you start and stop it. It overwrites the existing one, and the one with all the data in is this json.dat file. That will update every time the unit is restarted with the new data, and then it will just keep recording until you stop it, and then it will overwrite it the next time you turn the device off and restart it again. So once you've set this folder, you can just point it to the folder here by changing these paths, and then you can just forget about that. And then the device is just giving you all the information about the actual device, what it's actually doing, any errors, timeout errors, the serial number of the device, the current firmware, and different things like that. But like I said before, if you're using the wires on the cable with the relay, this is where it will tell you the actual state of your roof. Switch state closed. If you were imaging and your roof was open, then obviously that would say switch state open. But as soon as one of these unsafe conditions is met, then it would close the roof and it would state closed there. So that's a pretty basic overview of all the tabs within this software. My only gripe with it really is that the window I think is too small for the amount of software, the amount of information you've got within this software. I think it could do with being resizable, so that I've got a 4K monitor and it is pretty small in the middle of my monitor. The one thing I would say is it would be good if you could resize this to a size that suited your particular monitor and your user case. The third and final bit of software that you will have downloaded after this and the Askar driver is this CloudWatcher widget. Now this basically just shows you in graphical form with some figures the same data that you've got here, but this can be basically moved around anywhere on your desktop, and you set it up in this configuration file. You tell it to open the json.dat file, and then you tell it where to look for that file, and you point it to, in my case, the weather data folder that I've created on my desktop, and then to the .json.dat file, and this will constantly monitor that file, and it will constantly update the information here. So this can be sitting on your desktop all the time, and as long as you've got the CloudWatcher running and it's saving to your folder, to the JSON file, this will read that file and give you up-to-date information. Now if you chose a folder to save your weather data on, say, a Google Drive, so instead of me putting this on my desktop, this folder, if I'd have created the folder on Google Drive, then I could have this widget open on any computer in the world where I could access the internet and my Google Drive. And so you don't necessarily have to have the folder on your desktop. If you do want to use this remotely, then you can put that particular folder anywhere, and if you want to put it in a web-based Google Drive, then that will work. Again, you've got to make sure you point, in the setup of this, you've got to make sure you point this to that folder so that it knows where to save the information to. So that's useful. Again, you can dock this on your desktop if you want to, and it can be there and it will open automatically when you start Windows. The same as this software can be set to open and start recording automatically when you open Windows, or it can be set that you're going to do it manually. You do have those options within it. Useful. It is a good product. It's not a cheap product. It comes in probably the base unit without the extra sensors probably around 430, 440 euros, something around there. You can obviously add more sensors, becomes a bit more expensive, but it is a complex unit. It's well put together, it's well made, it gives you a lot of information. Whether you feel it's for you or not, well, that's up to you to decide. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to purchase it, I'll have to be completely honest. But if I do, I won't be using it until probably till I move to a new house where I can build a fully automated observatory. So if you like this video, then please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I love to read all the comments. And until the next video, clear skies.